Well, welcome in Genghis Khan Legacy Best of 3 Finals, $530 on the line, spawning into the north side, playing as the purple and the English. It is Baltune spawning in on the south, playing as the Roos. It is Avely. So tell me from maybe you saw a little bit of this in Genghis Khan's Legacy, but tell me about this map's origin a little bit.
Uh,
I think it's a pretty it's from a past Age of Empires, I believe, correct?
I'm actually not super sure, I got to admit, but it's not too dissimilar to what the other games have done. So, Age of Empires Online, actually, and Age of Mythology have been the ones that are pretty heavy on the water maps and hybrid maps. Age of Empires 2 got there eventually, but for a long time they played for the most part on Arabia there. And it's very interesting to see Age of Empires 4 embracing it so much more easily, but I guess that comes from a place of a lot of these players are actually not Age of Empires veterans. Avely happens to be an Age of Mythology veteran, but yeah, there's a lot of StarCraft players and Warcraft players that came into the scene, right? Especially at the very beginning.
Yeah, definitely. StarCraft 2 players essentially really did a good job of dominating the scene, especially throughout the Season 2, Season 3 era. But to direct you guys to the content a little bit, we have some English villagers for Baltune pulling out their short bows as they do.
This is
Two
bonkers. Already 2 kills.
and economic count right now 11-8. Roos got their dock up, which is nice. I mean, the only thing they really need to do is get their dock up, get the lodges out. They don't need to drop off. They just have a little Roos transportation device to get those fish back. And I think we're going to see a third villager end up going down that short bow with a headshot. That was a pretty good one. The English dock will be coming up right next to the Roos dock. Now, what are the things that English usually do that's actually pretty powerful in the Dark Age? Only civilization that can get Vanguard men-at-arms, and sometimes we see that. But against a Roos player, usually they don't go in the way of spearmen when it comes to Dark Age, so Baltune just kind of forewent the barracks and decided to pull a couple extra villagers, and they were good enough to take down those Roos villagers. So Avely's in kind of a hole right now.
Yeah, and there's not all that many deep fish spots on this map, so water superiority, okay, I mean, you're gonna have these 3 villagers here, and you can still put your fishing ships on the shoreline fish, but it's not as big of a deal. Steal the barracks is gonna happen, and we might see those men-at-arms. Might be for this later,
Nice
though.
little forward barracks too, which is super important, and I see a lot of players do this. I really love how they do the forward barracks because it is going to get rid of that quote-unquote defender's advantage that people talk about. And for the tile speed that men-at-arms actually are, if you put the barracks next to his town center and waltz those Vanguard men-at-arms all the way over, they'd get there too late. So having that barracks is perfect.
Yeah, for sure. So this should get rid of the dock. I mean, we've got the 1 fishing boat. 2 fishing boats definitely will be out. Maybe a 3rd one at the stretch. But then the men-at-arms will be putting the hurt on the TC dock. Dock is like a TC. That's what I was gonna say next. Much cheaper.
It's funny.
Produces
It's
bills.
funny you mention it because it really is like a second TC. It's just you're just getting food out of it. Essentially, it's a TC that can only make food villagers. Essentially.
Yeah. And with AoE4 having as many fish spots as there are, and with your ships being able to share them, it really gets to a great point of that, where you can kind of keep your production doubled up.
Yeah, and it really helps, especially for the Roos, if you take a look at those Lodgia fishing boats and how quickly they're able to pull the fish out of the water. Something in their nets, I'm not really sure, but the Lodgia fishing boats actually have a population of 2, and they do take 150 wood. So it takes a little extra to actually get them out, but once you do get them out, fantastic. And their ability to transform in feudal age, which we might see because those docks are so close together, and it looks like Avely might be the first one going to feudal age, popping down that Kremlin, putting 7 bills on it.
A Kremlin too, interesting.
Oh, I love the Kremlin. The Kremlin is getting a lot of use, especially in hybrid maps, just so you don't have to pay that extra wood to get a wooden fortress. Saving that 175 wood means you could do things like maybe transform a fishing boat, maybe add an attack ship that takes 200 wood, a galley that takes 150 wood. So having that extra is really going to help you, and it gives you the ability to spawn those little Kremlin gremlins. And I'm going to say this joke, I've probably said it in 5 different casts already, but you can't feed them after midnight.
Tell you what, it's kind of crazy. Baltune is actually getting quite a bit of resource denial, like killing these wolves. That's all gold that our Roost player won't be having access to as well.
Yeah, I want to take a look at, now that you mention it, that Kremlin just going up for Avely, pretty good time. I just want to take a look at the bounty so you don't have to exit caster mode to do so. Roost bounty at 285, so he's getting a little bit of that extra food production speed as well. And it looks like Avely went with a Ladia transport ship? Question mark?
What?
Yeah, he's going for the transport, which I understand, all for one for all kind of thing, but he's converting it to a galley. That galley popped out as soon as I finished that sentence, and now we got some firepower going.
Nice. Yeah, the transport ship was a little bit friendly for my taste, not gonna lie.
Yes. I mean, honestly, it's better than a trade ship, I guess.
Yeah. Especially
coming in
this
from
map,
the western side too, we got a couple gremlins coming in, gonna take them torches to that dock. That English dock's in trouble.
Yes. So unless it's gonna be a Hulk coming out or something.
And you called that perfectly. English dock putting in that Hulk. It's gonna take about 20 seconds to do it. Another second English dock a little bit to the north, trying to make a demo ship, and we'll see if it explodes something.
Oh, the Springboard ship actually getting the hit there. About 20% damage taken. Oh, the dock comes up. Last possible second that Roost Villager's gotta be happy with himself. Mad Arms chasing, but should be able to pull away and buy some time for the ships to do work. Now the naval battle is a lot of healing here. There's a lot of healing.
With that Hulk, I mean, the Hulk was such an impressive come out. I mean, the demo ship just hits the Hulk on the south side. Hulk down to about 9 health right now and becomes an instant shipwreck after it hits that demo ship. And it looks like the Roost dock, now that they actually have a dock in between those English docks, it's going to make it a little bit better to obviously produce their own ships, but give that little bit of home field advantage, that little bit of healing that you could see the galley and the attack ship get just being near it.
Yeah, this is starting to be a really nice fleet. The demolition ships trying to look for a connection. Hits the Springboard ships, but I mean, they're tanky enough to take it, and they're still getting the free regeneration, so it's all good. Dock should be going down at this rate. And now we're going to be transitioning into more of a land game after this. Certainly Avely has to.
Yeah, that's a really good call. I mean, I see from Baltune pushing the initiative a little bit with the council hall, adding longbows, got about two or three, it looks like 4 total on the count, and it's going to do really good against those Kremlin militia whenever they start to pop up. But Avely's going to, in response, put a stable in archery range. So get to a point in hybrid games where it looks like not much fish has really been gathered at this stage of the game. They did a little bit of fishing in Dark Age, and they fought so much in Feudal that you're trying to use that food to translate it into that landmass that your opponent can't stop, and Avely's really trying to do that now.
Yeah, now that these longbowmen are gonna be right in front of the Kremlin, they're actually not gonna be able to get in there. The other side is walled. So well played there by Avely. And you know, the horseman-archer combination should be able to deal with longbowmen by themselves. It's just when their number gets really disgustingly big and you have men-at-arms as well, that's when the trouble begins. Don't want to stay in H2 too long.
It's really interesting as a Rus player myself, saying a Rus horseman in feudal age, not usually seeing them too often. Usually go for more of the early knight route, but those horsemen are going to do a better job against some of the longbowmen that
Hmm.
Baltune made. So I can't really fault the choice and having a couple archers in the back just to make sure if Baltune does make spearmen or something like that to counter the horsemen, he will have an ability to. But like you said about Castle Age, think we might be seeing that a little sooner than we previously expected. Baltune has 4 on gold as English. It seems like a decent amount. Roos actually having 6 on gold now that he kind of quote unquote won water. He's not going to be using a lot of gold in terms of demo ships, so he will be able to collect that. Plus, with the Lodya fishing boats, we could see him up to castle soon too.
Yeah, right now that's just the 4 ships. That's a good thing about the attack ships. You can just convert them back into fishing boats and put them back to work.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's really nice to have maybe 1 military ship out there or 2, just so
Sure.
because if you take a look at what Avely's doing, he's patrolling with his boats, just having them around the shoreline because Baltune could just pull a villager out, go to the corner of that area, put a dock down, and if Avely doesn't know, he could really get caught off guard. So having some patrol ships around the side is something that a lot of pro players are doing. But Baltune
Hmm.
trying to recover from that loss of water, adding in a second town center, so he's going more land economy and bolstering that number instead of going for the water, which he lost already.
Yeah, you kind of have to. There's no other comeback mechanic in the game if you're just falling that far behind in economy. So you have to pamp out some extra villagers. The town centers being pretty expensive isn't exactly helpful in that situation. So Baltune really has to get everything together now. Also going for the farms in the back. Seeing the mill bonus. They'll be gathering quite a bit faster. So right now that's 20% faster.
I mean, 2 things I want to point out now that this game is developing in the 12th minute. Not only Avely did is going up to Castle Age, excuse me, with Abbey of the Trinity, me personally one of my favorite landmarks of the game, but also on the south side, Baltune actually did get a sneaky dock down. Did pull a villager and got a dock all the way on that south corner. So not necessarily trying to win. I mean, he might not win water just with that one dock, but he is going to be a pain in the rear end, that's for sure.
It's shooting. He upgraded it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. That is annoying for sure. Every little
And I
bit
wish you could
counts.
see with some of those emplacements for the dock, you're just going to be able to see if you hover over, see how far that thing actually shoots. It shoots into a different zip code. It's insane.
11 tiles range, yep. That's not nothing. Demolition ship has been made to directly impact the dock. Gonna do a ton of damage. It's kind of in the name.
Yeah, I mean, it will take probably about 4-ish demo ships take down a dock, especially with that little bit of sprinkled stuff going on. But definitely a good fireworks display, that's for sure.
Boom. Also, the monkers are about to go bonkers. Gathering all the relics up, hopefully.
Nice. Nice, dude. That was a good one. Uh, on the other side, with Avely, he does have that little bit of map control. English doing what English does, hurdling, making their shell in the form of palisade walls around this area. Also going into Castle Age himself, Baltune going with the King's Palace. So you will have 3 town centers to Roos's 1. And if you give them enough time, and especially with English, they get to Imperial in enough time, it could be an issue. But Avely trying to push the initiative. He knows Baltune is in feudal. Feudal age English really struggles dealing with man-at-arms. So Avery puts some barracks down, trying to get through this. But Baltune, instead of, if one shell's not good enough, might as well add a couple more over here on the south side. And the men-at-arms went through that one wall, but not going to be quick enough to go through the second one. Remember the council hall being able to, in season 4, getting, instead of just getting longbowmen, can get crossbowmen out at 11 seconds a pop. So you can't really do that Castle Age Men-at-Arms rush as Rus against English anymore because they're able to pop out crossbowmen so easily.
Yeah, the men-at-arms are not anymore getting produced at all. Avely does have the resources for them. Why does it say he doesn't? What? I'm hovering over it says it can't. Okay, it's good now.
We know. I mean, honestly, I mean, if he did have the resource, which obviously he does, we see he's got about 800 food in the bank ish. Good idea for him not making them just because of the amount
Yes.
of crossbowmen that were going to come out. Made a couple stables. Going to be start pumping in the night direction. Hopefully, we see a
Yeah.
blacksmith for Avely, and we do to hopefully get some sweet, sweet Boyar's fortitude and get those cavalry a little bit extra HP.
Well, I guess the UI knows the meta, so. Anyway, second sacred site getting captured. That's definitely very nice. Putting some timing pressure on our English player. If the Rus can build up castles up here, that's really gonna hurt. Like, okay, you've got a free TC economic boom going with these super boosted farms. It's possible to get a big enough economy going that you can siege things down, but the sacred victory is approaching and you don't have too much time to prepare, and the Rus are not gonna sit on their asses either.
No, they're definitely not. I mean, you can see what Avely's doing on the north by the westernmost sacred site. Just putting down those fortified palisade walls, showing the English that their shell is just a little bit more stronger. And hopefully on this eastern sacred site, which I agree with you, I think putting some keeps around it would obviously be a good idea. Avely's got a siege workshop already around this area. And when you're trying to defend things like sacred sites, Springolds are going to be really important for you because they're going to try to tread down those keeps. You got to make sure you get the anti-siege to counter it.
Oh, if you're on Baltune's vision, you can't see what Avely can make. I see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry.
he's newer at AoE 4. Give him a break. He's trying his best. But Avely again adding a second shell over here on the western side, while simultaneously in the northeast side of the map, taking down one of those spicy boar products, pulled that pork over towards those knights, increasing his bounty to 435. And I want to take a look really quick here to see if he got the second one, and he did. So his bounty's probably going to stay at about 435 for the rest of the game.
Bacon.
Nice.
By the way, this wall spamming is just giving me Age of Mythology flashbacks. It's a thing.
Oh, that's an AOM thing too?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's gonna be in the meta for a long time. Very understandable with Rus with these fortified palisade walls. They're super strong at 2500 HP versus, well, 1250. It's double.
Well, and before the update to the walls, because walls actually got nerfed a little bit. Normal palisades used to have 1500 health, and fortified palisades used to have 3000. So they dialed that back a little bit, just because I'm speaking for the devs, not my own personal opinion, of course. But they wanted to make walls so you don't just turtle behind them. They're able to be taken down so you can actually build some kind of defense, get your units over to the other side, and just be kind of like an obstacle. But as you can see with the English and the fact that they've been booming on 3 town centers pretty consistently, walls, you can still hide behind them.
Yes, and speaking of that boom, we're looking at 90 free villagers now to 69.
Nice.
For the English. Very nice.
It looks like the English player does not want to hide behind walls any longer. Decent amount of men-at-arms. Don't see any upgrades on them yet from the blacksmith. I'm actually checking around his base to see if he does have a blacksmith, and I'm not seeing one just on quick scope. But got to get that Iron Chad armor. That's really going to help him out, and especially against the Rus keep that's going right next to the westernmost sacred site. I think Avely should probably start pulling his military around that area, but he's doing a good job of just being a nuisance on the east side, like you said, just around that cliff there. He's just trebbing down outposts. He's trebbing down stuff just to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, exactly, and that's gonna take away the network of castles bonus if you can take them all out. But right now there's more where that came from. Anyway, castle comes up. That will help to keep the sacred site going for at least a little bit. Knights are too much of a thick boy to line up properly here, though.
Yeah, that's a super good point. Those knights and horsemen can't really get that full surround of the men-at-arms rush. A decent amount of crossbows for Baltune backing up, and those men-at-arms just being too tanky. They're getting free
Wow.
pot shots on those knights. Knights are going down very quickly and without Borar's fortitude, but Avely didn't use all of his troops. You can see over there on the north side, couple warrior monks and some men-at-arms. Warrior monks spreading the power of Christ, healing these units up just a little bit, and we got some archers in the back. So Avely, or Baltune, excuse me, might have to pull some of these units away from the sacred site if it ends up getting decapped. Avely, having some villagers around, pulls his ranged mass all the way up here just so that sacred site doesn't get decapped. And looks like with about 6 minutes 4 seconds, it is going to get officially decapped. So Avely's gonna have to find a different win condition.
Yeah, the only thing really going for Avely right now is that he's had all this gold income for such a long time, and naturally that helps a lot. I see 4 relics getting captured. There's no more on the map, right? That's all of them.
I believe there are 5 on this map. On Golden Heist, there should be 5. Baltune does have 1.
Yeah, I see it. Okay.
Yeah, and Avely has the other 4. I mean, with having the 4 relics like that, obviously it's going to help you pump out those gold heavy units. Things like knights, they take 100 gold. Things like crossbowmen, they add an extra 40 to you. So hopefully he's able to take down these men-at-arms, but it just seems like there's too many of them. Military count 50 to 26. They're neutralizing that sacred site on the eastern side, and I think Avely thought there would be a little bit more turtling going on from Baltune. He put a lot of forward production up here with a couple archery ranges, a siege workshop, which is 600 wood if my math serves me correctly, and adding a keep all the way in the back, actually not near the sacred site at all, just to preserve his home base.
Yeah, he's kind of gonna have to with this town center also being here, otherwise the men-at-arms just come and smash that down. But oh, I think I just missed a great mangonel shot. Look at all those crossbows getting low. Good choice to run away now.
Yeah, Mangonel came out at just the right time, and I always enjoy when you're gonna do that, having 2 Mangonels, because you can get a sneaky hit that warning doesn't go off yet. So you get 2 Mangonels that can really take down that whole bunch, but a lot of them at about 26 health exactly, and will end up retreating back home. And now Baltune has the initiative in this game now that he decapped the sacred sites, and he will continue to have initiative because he's putting the Wingard Palace up with 26 villagers. First one to Imperial by a long shot. Avely's nowhere near it.
Yeah, 128 vills, man. That's just gonna power through this production, no problem. You can get these package deals out. Which ones do you like to see?
Oh, I mean, I'm an old school. They actually just added the Raiders, the Rangers, and the Footmen in the Wingard Palace. The Wingard Army, still the best bang for your buck. Like, you're getting a trebuchet for 100 wood. You can't beat that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, like, it's too good. And having, like, especially with English is so dependent on wood because they get their food from their farms that are insane. As you can see here, Baltune at 3,300 food per minute, and with enclosures, although nerfed just a little bit, it's still going to give you that little bit of gold that you need to make the units like men-at-arms that only cost 20 gold a pop. So having the things like trebuchet is the only thing you need to spend your wood on. You have 100 of them for a trebuchet. It really sets that English Imperial army apart.
There come the gold pop-ups. Yep. Nerfed or not, it matters. It's infinite.
Yeah, it's really frustrating playing against Imperial English because 2 of their resources they don't need to leave their base for. It's very, very frustrating. And because of how well they turtle with the network of castles initially, and if Baltune decides to make a keep, getting the network of citadels, increasing your attack speed by 40%. That was nerfed also, but that also doesn't matter.
Now, those mangonels should keep this kind of army at bay, at least for now. And looks like Avey managed to recapture the sacred site in the corner. Middle one gonna be a challenge. Maybe if he could get up another of these keeps. But then again, Vanguard armies, right? They come with those giga cheap trebs.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to counteract that siege army, especially for Rus and Castle Age. But big battle going on here with the east side. A lot of those militia coming out of the Kremlin. It looks like Avely just hit the oh crap button. Put all of the tickets that he had into the Kremlin into those militia. Didn't really do too much. Kind of turned into a firing squad. Avely does have siege advantage, though. Decent amount of mangonels coming out in this battle. Looks like 2 or 3. The men-at-arms trying to get a flank over here on the east side. Try to take down a little bit of this siege, but it looks like those knights and some of the archers, some of the crossbowmen are going to create just a little bit of a problem for those men-at-arms. They're going to continue to take hits on these knights that could take so much. The men-at-arms, they are tanky units. They're not exactly a DPS unit because of that. And the crossbowmen behind, it looks like for Avely, we had about 9 crossbowmen, just enough with the mangonels to actually drive Baltune in the opposite direction. Has to retreat up north now. Military count 49 to 41.
Yeah, but it looks like English still goes burr. And we've got the hand cannoneers coming up along with the men-at-arms, which are now pretty upgraded. Elite men-at-arms. Not bad, not bad. We've got +3. That's coming not just from the blacksmith upgrades, actually. There's +1 from the blacksmiths.
Yeah, and those, you correctly pointed out the hand cannoneers. They do take a little bit of gold, but for Avely being in Castle Age, not being able to have Streltsy of his own, with English usually does a good job of beating anyway. Having those hand cannoneers and getting good hits on those knights are going to make them disintegrate. Maybe we'll see it in this battle here. Baltune also adding a couple spearmen over there on the west side. I saw that quickly met their end. Another fight coming in on the south side. Looks like Baltune trying to get both flanks again, but those mangonels just flinging rocks. They're a little part of stony hell on all of those men-at-arms, and it looks like a lot of them are going to end up going down again. Military count 46 to 33 in favor of Avely. But just like you said, to allude to your point, in English going burr, we're just going to see it again in another minute and a half.
Yeah, look at that reinforcement line. With that said, it looks like Baltune is as allergic to mangonels as I am allergic to mangoes. That's a thing.
Wow. Dude,
yeah.
That was
crazy.
I'm really glad I'm learning more about you as we cast. I do know that Sassy did say correctly in chat about the Wingguard Footmen. The Wingguard Footmen are actually bugged right now, but maybe they let's just say they don't work very correctly. Okay. We're not, hopefully we don't see him. I'm not really gonna go into it, and I'd rather the people that are watching don't make Wingguard Footmen, especially in games that I play against, because I will rage at you.
Fair enough.
Another fight on the east side. More men-at-arms, a little bit of spearmen coming in. Hand cannoneers a little bit more populous than they were before. Mangonels getting a surround on the Rus army. And look how quickly some of those knights are getting absolutely decimated by those hand cannoneers. Now the Rus army with those extra hand cannoneers, the Rus army decides to disintegrate. They're right on the siege. And now as these mangonels start getting popped, trebuchets start getting popped, that's a lot of firewood.
Well, that was a troublesome little fight. I mean, the keep got upgraded with boiling oil, so that's gonna help a little bit. But man, Avely really put those poor crossbowmen in front of the men-at-arms, and that was not gonna work out. Huge loss here. Can he recover ever? Good question, I think, because the economy is starting to look a little more doable. But there are 27 idols for Avely right now. Where are they?
We got about, it looks like there's about 8 idols over here on the south side of his main town center. It looks like we had some more trying to just allocate different resources. The issue is Avely, in order to get to Imperial, to match English in their age, they had to take a conclusive, like definitive match-breaking kind of fight to give them the time, give them the resources to get up to Imperial. The issue is because the Imperial English can just spam units incessantly, Avely's never going to get that chance. So he's essentially perpetually stuck in Castle Age.
Yeah, this is absolutely brutal, man. I mean, he finally found those idle knights, and those are helping to clean up for sure. The burr isn't gonna help forever, but we're also transitioning with Baltune into double trebuchet now, trying to siege down this keep, and once the keep is gone, that's really the bastion that's holding it all together for Avely. What happens after is anyone's guess.
What happens? I mean, I could give you a good guess, Naka, to be honest with you. Baltune actually still continuing to have some raids, using some elite men-at-arms and getting a decent amount of villager kills. Avely, we did see, and you mentioned, he was at a little bit over 100. Now at 82, continuing to drop. Avely had to pull some of his knights and some of those aforementioned Kremlin gremlins over here to try to take down these men-at-arms. But it takes a solid 45 seconds to a minute to get rid of one of them. And while that's happening, Avely's trying to micro that area to the south side of his home base in the middle. That keep, that fortress that was quote-unquote keeping him alive, pun intended, signals the end of the game.
Pretty
And
good
that
guess,
is
Tim.
a
Well done.
tap out. Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to use a key pun, to be honest. All right, I'm going to introduce these guys again, spawning in on the northwestern side of the map, playing as the color teal or cyan, depending on what you like, playing as the Holy Roman Empire. I introduce them every time, shouting out these prelates, giving the word of their Lord Jesus Christ to make these villagers go a little bit faster. It is Baltune spawning in on the southeast, playing as the English, going to give his English a try. Is
Nice.
Avely playing as the color purple. Now, another hybrid map. We're seeing Dry River. Another dock by Avely going in right smack dab in the middle of that river that has been evaporated just a little bit.
Nice. So that's actually one thing I was going to ask you right away. Are these villagers just going to put up a mill, or is the dock actually worth it? What do you think about that?
Yeah, dock is super worth it. For these, one of the best civs and hybrid civs in general, English being one of them. HRE does a good job also because of how good their wood economy is. But if you take a look back at Baltune, and I'm going to click just to see how many villagers he has on prospective resources, 6 on food, 3 on gold. So when it comes to docks, he is saying, no thank you, brother, I'll take feudal age just a little bit earlier. Avely going for the dock and getting that food economy a little bit better. Usually for these players, they get about 4 fishing boats on these little river areas. So we'll see 4, and then once those shore fish actually end up disintegrating or they end up fishing them all, the fishing boats just get deleted a little bit later. But the payoff is worth it.
Yeah, I guess you're not going to engage in a mad arms fight in this case anymore.
No, I mean, this is pretty safe for English to do
Yeah.
against HRE anyway. You know, I mean, HRE, the only thing they can do in Dark Age is get Spearmen. So the Vanguard Men-at-Arms are going to be really good in this matchup. So the HRE just kind of, he decided to default on that. But at 2 minutes and 15 seconds, rather good of a time. Whoops, maybe a little bit of a placement issue. He's going to put the Aachen Chapel now on the northeast side. He's going to get the berries, going to get the sheep. If he pulls the sheep over, going to get the gold, and we'll get the tip of that wood line as well.
Yeah, this is really one of those prime positions. Like, what more do you want? Stone in there? Come on. That's just greedy.
Right. It is, and it really is such a prime position. And Baltune probably would have enjoyed getting stone because he pulled 4 of his villagers over to the east side of his base. Going to have a mining camp, going to have the prelate there as well, gathering a little bit of stone. So it looks like Baltune might go for a second town center. Interesting,
especially with HRE. You don't really see that all that often, do you?
No, not. I mean, it depends on the matchup, I guess. But with Baltune going HRE and going with a second town center, probably because he did not go water, he feels like he's going to have to catch up in the economic aspect. But a lot of times as HRE, when they go fast castle, they just do it better than the English player. So a lot of times when you see land maps, especially more closed land maps like Altai, something like that, they'll go fast castle and they get up just a little bit quicker than the English player, so they can really get those relics with Regnitz Cathedral. But he's kind of content with hanging out in feudal, 6 vills on stone. He's guaranteed he's bought in.
Yeah, that's gonna be a really long feudal then. It just takes a long time to gather all that stone, meanwhile the opponent Avely is gathering a ton of food and just enjoying the overall economic growth already, getting more and more docks, which will keep up with the TC for a long time. 21 to 18 workers already.
Oh yeah, it's gotta. He's going all the docks, and especially, I mean, look at this villager for Avely on the western side, just kind of matriculating its way to the southeast, and it's kind of working as a little bit of a scout at the same time. He's looking to see if any of the pawns have any kind of docks or any kind of, HRE presence. But now that that villager knows and Avely knows that there isn't, he could take all 6 of these and continue to fish out of them.
Wow, 16 villagers on wood all of a sudden. Oh my god. Of course, they're all blessed. That's good. 40%
yeah, with that
faster
Akka Chapel,
there.
with that Akka Chapel going in, one of the things that I'm going to say probably until I die about the HRE is that's when the prelate gets its megaphone to boost all of those villagers with inspiration. And now, I mean, he just force dropped off probably about 10 or 11 villagers, going to get them to put that town center to the north. Really like that spot also because he's got this deer that he's going to be able to herd Baltune with the APM like a god, and pulling those deer right next to the town center. You're going to have that
so
gold mine as well.
Yeah, that's
So
especially
good.
the deer getting herded into the right spot. Oh, it's so clean. I like these little things about RTS games when people optimize their drop-off timings and whatever. That's very cool.
And it's one of those really small things, but I was actually explaining to this to somebody who does not play Age of Empires at all. I was actually at work a couple days ago and explaining it because I'm a nerd and they have to sit and listen to me because I'm a resident and they're a medical student.
You're
so
awful.
yeah, so I was talking to them about it, and for each villager, like say that outside deer that he just about shot down to the north, say he shot that down. It takes villagers that little bit of extra seconds every time they drop off. But it's not just doing it once. It's how many times that villager needs to go back and forth, so it exponentially delays the wood or the food per minute that you can actually get from those deer because of the walking time. And because Baltune did the good job of microing right next to the town center, never gonna have that problem.
Interesting points in the chat, by the way, that this looked very rushable. Avely went for the water boom. Like, you're not gonna be able to also age up at the same time. Not as fast. There's an economic sacrifice here. You're gathering wood instead of food with your villagers, so that does hurt your age up timing. But at the same time, you get this monster economy at 35 vills to 29. Well, with some of them being fishing ships, but still.
And I mean, it does take a little while for this fishing economy to really get going. You can see that Avely is going for that castle age. He's got 670 gold already in the bank, and he's got 700 food, so he's going to get there, and he's going to get there faster than Baltune. And I did read that good point in the chat about if he decided to punish this greed, Avely might have been in that winnable game-defining position right now. But it seems like both of these, I mean, obviously we have the vision over both players and they don't of each other. They're basically just trying to out-greed each other. That's the strategy they're going for.
Yeah, that's the thing. If Avely maybe stays on the one dock and then rejuggles his villagers onto food, then I think we're talking in that case, yeah. That's probably one of those scenarios where you can actually rush and do damage and maybe even deny the TC.
Right, and especially because that north site where that TC, yes, it's a very good economic placement, but in terms of defensive placement, that's tough because you can send longbowmen just around that wood line, and the only thing you have to fight off against is that town center. You stay within its range, you could pick off these deer villagers pretty easily. Avely choosing to go a completely naked fast castle to the point where I don't even know if we could show this on stream. That's how naked it is. 11 villagers on the king's palace. And right when he put that down, probably about 15 seconds after, I should say, HRE following suit with the Regnitz Cathedral up north.
Yeah, well, the 2TC is gonna be a thing for Avely, just like it is for Baltune. So economically speaking, it's this Regnitz Cathedral that has to do the work. The more relics, the better at this point.
Yeah, and it's difficult for HRE. We'll see if they're actually going to be able to do this because they are going to be a little bit later to get up to Castle, but they're going to be ready when they actually hit Castle. Taking a look around Avely's base, no military production buildings besides the Council Hall, and adds a
Oh
monastery
my god.
instead of putting anything like stables, whereas the HRE on the western side, that Regnitz Cathedral, just gets completed at the 9:15 mark. 3 stables, 1 already going to be ready to pump out knights if he wants to. Avely went for the more defensive strategy of trying to wall around these relics, especially on that western side. Little too late, didn't get the villager over there. That's an easy relic for the prelate.
Yeah, man, that's 2 already. Is there any more going? A third one is heading out and should be able to grab it. So for English at this point, if you can get 2 relics with your own monks, then great. Whatever you can deny to the HRE with their Regnitz Cathedral, right? That's always nice.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily about you getting the passive gold income, which is always a plus. It's just denying the 160 per minute that each relic does for the HRE. And because Baltune put a nicely placed outpost over here on the eastern side, protecting his woodline from the front, puts a relic right into it, increasing not only the sight range, the weapon range, the damage, and the armor in that outpost. So that is a beast to take down.
So what is that? Triple knights? Triple knights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably
And
the
for
best
the,
option for HRE right now because, you know, you don't want to deal with the longbows and the other business. Men-at-arms as well. It's going to be a knight fight. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the HRE Knights, even though Baltune didn't go Minework Palace, of course, he went Aachen Chapel, but the HRE Knights, if you have a prelate around, gonna be a little bit better, especially if in the Regnitz Cathedral he does get inspired warriors. It's gonna make those knights just a little bit better. But he was able to get that production first before Avely, and we can see military count 11-6, which the prelates are included, but knight count 5-3, which is the ultimate battle. Avely trying to stall on the south side with that relic with Lil Wololo, just to give it a little bit of time, but not. Looks like those knights are too busy with other knights, and that monk is actually going to walk away.
Ooh, yeah, very nice catch here. Even getting some kills. Awesome. Just surprised to not see anybody making crossbows. It's just going to be a knight war.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, with HRE in English, they usually go knight versus knight against each other in Castle Age. With the Council Hall having the ability to pump out crossbowmen so quickly, kind of surprised we don't see them more
Yeah.
in this matchup, but a little bit is the mobility. You know, it's going to take a while for crossbows to get there at the time where, you know, the knights are already gone. So a lot of times it's just a mobility issue and it turns into wasted resources where you'd rather have knights anyway.
Well, very few upgrades are on the way right now. Actually, English getting the ranged armor.
Yep, that's going to help, especially if they want to go in and try to take down some HRE villagers, which hopefully they do at some point. I did see a raid from Baltune over on that north wood line, but now they're going to take a fight. Knights v Knights. A crossbow is added. Good call, Naka. And the Knights now around that King's Palace have the ability when they took that fight to have networks of castles, so that really helped him in that fight, even though he was at a disadvantage. Baltune had to back up. Look at these cheeky walls by Avely, too, especially on this north side. He's just trying to wall in the HRE as much as he possibly can, and I think he's going to be able to. I mean, a lot of Baltune's knights are over here on the south side, I think trying to look for other knights Now, if Baltune does take this fight, even though he's at a little bit of a disadvantage, he's not going to have an ability to get to those crossbowmen. He knows it. He's got to back up. And this actually, because of those crossbowmen inclusion, might just be the turning point, Naka.
Yeah, and that initial charge was also super clean, so definitely helped out. Looks like the fishing ships are gonna be out of fish just now, or about to be. Yeah, there it is. It's gone.
And they're gone. The fishing boats just get destroyed
Ooh,
as soon as that happens.
goodbye.
But there are multiple fishing spots left for Avely, so he's going to keep going on
Food
this.
income, not a problem.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially with back home, he's just starting to add farms now. One of the things that's super nice for English, you know, you get those fishing boats, you can delay that farm transition. Even though it is good for English, you might not necessarily have the wood when you're trying to consistently pump out knights. So it gives you a little bit of extra time.
Yes, just from the mill influence, you get 25%. This is English only. Then again, fighting against HRE, I mean, these vills are pretty damn inspired too.
Yeah,
50% faster. Yep. They're gonna be fine.
Yeah, for
now.
how now with that 50%, that brings up a good point. He did get the technology in the Regnitz Cathedral that makes them work 10% extra. Usually it's 40, so now he's at 50. So that's a really good call. Night Raid from Baltune trying to come on the north side. I don't know if he actually got some. If he did, maybe 1 or 2. Worker kill count actually in favor of Baltune 7-0. And if he didn't get those 7 bills, I think he'd be behind in a huge way economically.
So I guess the question just remains: what is gonna be next? Oh, inspired warriors. Nice. That is what's next. Prelate is already healing up these knights. He's bereit zu gehorchen and will be soon joining the battle.
Yeah, I mean, those inspirations are... This is one of the things that Baltune's going to have over Avely, just because of how easy it is to get prelates. Having that gold income like he does at about 800 a minute. But don't look now for Baltune. He has a lot of extra resources. He had about 2,000 food, and because of that, and because it's a little bit cheaper, Palace of Swabia come down on the north, but a huge issue. There's about 11 English knights going to find out that the Swabia is getting made. There's nothing around here that's going to help. It's going to take a while for those knights for the HRE to come back up north. That's a huge loss for Baltune and a huge delay of time.
Although that counter knight charge was also pretty nice, taking down 3 knights right away. And who knows what else comes out of this chase. Oh, nothing. No chase. Last next. Let's go.
I was surprised. I thought there was going to be a little bit of chase, but it looks like the Swabia is going to end up going up unless Avely... Nope, he's going to bring those knights back to the south. Baltune changing his army composition just a little bit. Instead of just knights, adding a couple lance snakes as well. The prelates are going to be over here, going to be able to get some inspiration on those warriors if they actually have the ability to. It looks like not enough knights for Avely. That Swabia is going to go up. But at what cost to Baltune? Economic count 83 to 68.
Yeah, that's
now that he
hard.
can pump out a Swabia, he might end up evening that out in a few minutes.
Yeah, these villagers make in 6 seconds instead of, what was the original, 20? 20, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, textiles coming in as well. That's for extra 25 health on these villas. Very nice. That's going to help them survive longer against the knights.
Oh yeah, against those night raids, textiles is, as somebody who used to play French in the season 0 to season 2 kind of area, having a civ or somebody else with the presence of mind to get textiles, oh my god, I would just get mad and curse at my monitor.
Ooh, elite. Last knights are coming in. There's quite a handful of them already. Seeing 8 just in this group. And maybe you could even go raiding with them, although that's maybe adventurous.
Yeah, those landsnakes, I mean, they do pack a punch. They have that AoE damage. It just, you know, they're very flimsy.
Yeah,
they end up going down.
Eesh.
What's nice with those knights that are going to be around them is going to be difficult to actually micro and pick the land snakes in order to get picked off by those English crossbows. And I think we're going to see, just because we're going to see horsemen come in for Baltune, veteran horsemen and probably elite horsemen at some point, we're going to see a little bit of a quantity versus quality kind of thing here, where Avely's going to have a lot of Castle Age units, Baltune's going to have Imperial Age units quicker, but don't look now because of Avely's economy and that English economy, that fish boom, and all of that sushi is going to turn into the Wingard Palace.
Yeah, there it is. And man, he has got a lot of farms. My god. What is that? 37 villas on it? Just like Baltune, actually.
Yeah, and it's crazy the actual food per minute you get from all of those. But huge fight coming in the middle. We have spearmen that are going to be able to take down a lot of these knights. And the land snakes, I don't think there's enough in order to really help them out. A lot of knights go down on the English side for Avely. I think there was enough, but Avely microed all of his crossbowmen right in front of the land snakes, and a lot are going to go down because of that. That was so massive and a big miss micro from Avely, it seems. Military count, Avely had double the amount. It's now 8-5. Both of them got to start over.
Wow, man, they really destroyed each other. Those crossbows really pack a punch when it comes to taking down knights. Seriously helped out all of the spears, but even they can't hold it in the melee.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, like, I don't know why he pulled those crossbowmen all the way over. I don't know what happened. I don't know what got into him.
He could have just stayed behind the wall for sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think they had the range for it. Baltune trying to pick a different mode of attack. It looks like in terms of spawn points for his land snakes and his horsemen, they're going all the way to the north trying to take down this palisade gate, excuse me, and it looks like he's trying to find that soft underbelly of the English where a lot of economic units are, and I think he did a good job of spotting out where the map and what Avely needs to do to go out to get resources, because there's 2 gold mines to the north. And Baltune might know that that's going to happen. We might see a raid over there in that area, but we'll be able to neutralize that sacred site up here in the north and get a keep down too for a little bit of map control.
Definitely a nice beginning. By the way, the Swabia has been doing its job. 124 villagers down to 99. Baltune's starting to look a little favored in this, but of course, eventually we'll see. Oh wait, enclosures is done. Sorry, Holy Roman Empire fans. It's Shovel City. Gotta get stuff going.
I mean, we did see this in the first game with flipped in terms of players, with Baltune having the English in Imperial. Let's see what Avely can do with that English Imperial. HRE Imperial, obviously strong because of Swabia, but they have a good early Imperial kind of age. If this game drags on a little bit longer, maybe we get into like the 32 to 35 minute, we're going to see English have a huge advantage, and it looks like he's just kind of abandoning these fishing dock areas, kind of abandoning a little bit of this map control, and honestly, he has enough farms anyway and wants the enclosures. He's okay with them going down.
Yeah, we've got some not upgraded man-at-arms, actually. They're normal man-at-arms for now, for Avely. But the hand cannoneers are getting added. And what is the Wingard class doing? Wingard army.
Yeah, I mean, look at the, because you're talking about these men-at-arms, and they are going to get elite army tactics in just about 10 seconds, so you'll see them get a little bit beefier, but these horsemen and these knights, very difficult to take down those men-at-arms, and the land snakes don't have enough damage in order for them to do that. The hand cannoneer mass all the way in this back of the fight on the eastern side is shredding apart this HRE front line. There's not enough prayers in the Holy Roman Empire to save all of those horsemen, and they end up backing up. Military count 42 to 37, but that was a convincing Avely win.
A big part of this was actually that the upgrade for the network of citadels came through. Forget the name, sorry. But yeah, it's 40% increased attack speeds now.
No, you're exactly correct. Network of citadels, good call.
Citadels, thanks.
Yeah, 40% increase. Remember, it used to be 50. Everybody complained about it. Now it's 40. People are still complaining about it, including myself.
Nice. Soon 30.
Yeah, I hope they just take it out, man. Like, I'm so sick of the Civ and Imperial Age, but we're gonna see it yet again, and we're gonna see this all of the barracks that Avely is making, they're going to be able to pump out men-at-arms so well. And even Castle Age men-at-arms for Avely, I know we talked about the fact that they're not getting Imperial, but they're still at 186 HP. And with how much armor they have, especially against horsemen, these elite horsemen with no blacksmith upgrades at all are only going to do 7 damage a pop against them. It's going to take each one, if my math serves me correctly, about 27, 26 hits for each one.
Single tier. That's kind of why the Landsknechts are here, though. Those can do a little bit more work with the 20 damage per hit. That's only going to be
they can, especially. I mean,
6.
if they get those men-at-arms at such a conglomerated area, which the men-at-arms usually do like to bunch up, they might have a good idea. But good raid by Baltune over here on the north side. We got some elite horsemen taking some hits on some gold villagers. Economic count right now 148 to 105. So those horsemen are actually doing a good job. While on the south side, Baltune is moving his army a little bit more to get some south raids going, and it looks like he might take this fight rather convincingly. Decent amount of spearmen to take on those horsemen, but there are way too many land snakes. I think he might end up out damaging this. Avely realizes it and retreats.
Yes, units are so weak, though. It looks like the horsemen can chase and pick off the majority of these stragglers. Nice little win for Baltune. Game's very, very, very far from swinging in his favor, though, with Avely having so much infrastructure still. Worst case, he pulls back a little. The raid is nice, have to say, picking off a bunch of vills.
Oh yeah, that raid is super beneficial to him because for Avely, it takes him so long to make villagers as opposed to Baltune. Over here on the western side, I know he's dealing with a horseman raid, but another battle coming in over here. Some hand cannoneers on the back end for English, and we're going to see a lot of these horsemen end up going down. And actually, Baltune's army, because of the network of citadels and the fact that it still exists in this game, God help me, those hand cannoneers and crossbowmen are able to clean them up.
Sorry for laughing at your pain. I'm really trying not to, but it's just too hard.
No, really. I mean, I'm saying this so other people get enjoyment out of my misery. I really am. But Baltune, as correctly pointed out in chat, just raiding in so many different areas. In the north side, trying to get some more raids. He's got to station some foot soldiers over there. Villagers getting raided. Over on the south side, there was a stone mine, which is a stone outcropping no more. It has been mined pretty much completely. Elite horsemen going to get that raid over there on the south side. And you can see the problem with the English army. I mean, post-Imperial and that Imperial Age is really good for English, but they use a lot of foot soldiers and they're slow.
I just seen a massive drop in Baltune's gold income. What is happening? It's back up. It's back up. Must have been building a drop off or something. Oh yeah, no, I mean, no, they're stuck. The vills are stuck.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's too many vills for one gold vein.
No, look at them all. They're waiting their turn like it's an amusement park ride. Oh my god.
That said, the bombards are pushing nicely. 2 sacred sites are controlled, and he has like, what, 4 relics at home? That's not too bad.
Yeah, having that, I mean, these bombards, they are expensive in terms of gold. I mean, they're not just made out of wood like the battering ram that is in front of it, but they do obviously pack a punch. You see an outpost, you see a keep go down, and a lot of these elite men-at-arms and spearmen for the English, if they actually go up and contest the sacred site, they're not going to have the network of citadels, which is going to be an issue. Military count, however, now 44 to 76 in favor of Avely, and it looks like Baltune just going for a lot of these small vanguard raiding forces. I mean, there's horsemen, 15 of them over on the south side trying to get hits on some enclosure villagers. A lot of this army over here in the middle is just kind of staying put, presenting these villagers with a little bit of extra security, and Baltune is actually stonewalling around Avely, and he says, if you're not going to make a shell, I'll make a shell for you, brother.
Let me help you out there. Whatever it's worth, Baltune is ahead in score just a little bit. It's those bars being longer, but does it actually matter? We'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that is economic. too. I
Hmm.
mean, he's been at about 148 villagers and stayed in that 130, 140 for some time. Avely at about 85. But the thing is, in Age of Empires 4, if some of you still hanging around from the Age of Mythology stream are new to Age of Empires 4, there is such a thing as overbooming. And I think Baltune might be in that category if he keeps pumping out villagers out of the Palace of Swabia, because Avely has a military mass of about 100. Baltune is never going to be able to get to that amount. And if English just ends up steamrolling forward for the eight against the HRE, they take down some of these stone walls around the middle. That could be a huge issue.
Fun fact: the Age of Mythology crew actually gets villager limits. So
Really?
you make 80 and then that's it. Yep.
Actually, one thing I want to comment while we're seeing some raids going in from Baltune, but there's a little bit of a standstill, both of them trying to master up their army, and those horsemen are going down. I watched the Age of Mythology show match, and if you guys haven't, if you're interested in Age of Mythology, you probably should. But I can't believe the amount of animals that are in that game. I don't play Age of Mythology. I've never played it before, but I watched the beginning of one of the games, and there was just like giraffes and crocodiles and stuff hanging around, and I'm like, what the hell is happening? Why are there more? Why are there so many subspecies? It's like a National Geographic channel.
You can eat anything if you put your mind to it, Tim.
I mean, it seems so. Avely trying to put his mind to stuff as well with that military count of 108. Again, if he decides to take that battle, Baltune knows that he overboomed just a little bit, and I think about 11 villagers ended up losing their lives, but they did sacrifice for the good of the Holy Roman Empire, and we appreciate their service. But that service is no longer needed. He's trying to get some military to actually combat this English force. And look at that English powerhouse force. 61 men-at-arms, 18 hand cannoneers, 16 crossbowmen. And as long as they stick together, I don't think they're going to end up being stopped.
It's looking like a pretty strong push. It's looking like a pretty big army. 108 units here. And yeah, in AoE4, they're all one pop. So there's that. If you're not an elephant.
Very true. Yeah, being an elephant has its shortcomings, but you do get some pretty cool ivory tusks, so I guess I would try to be an elephant. The keep from Baltune and from the HRE going to protect some of this forward production. Looks like they're going to try to neutralize this sacred site. We got into some National Geographic talk, but sacred victory for Baltune. 6 minutes 45 seconds. Still a little bit of time for Avely. He might be able to take this fight and try to mass up a little bit. However, no network of citadels in this battle. Up front, you got land snakes, you got horsemen. There's a decent hand cannoneer mass. There's a decent crossbowman mass all the way in the back. Now that these men-at-arms are of the elite variety for Avely, there's not a lot in Baltune's composition that can really pack a punch and take down these men-at-arms in swift succession. And because of that, these horsemen are essentially just delaying the inevitable. That front line gets absolutely disintegrated. You see all of those horses on the battlefield. Somebody call PETA. There's so many dead horses. The hand cannoneers, the crossbowmen, all the way in the back on that back line, essentially untouched throughout the duration. Those bombards that they paid so much resources for end up getting completely reduced to shrapnel.
What a
and that's
brutal
a tap.
push.
Insane.
Yeah, Avely's done it. He's back in this. Score is now 1-1.
Okay, spotting in on the western side, the map of Prairie, playing as the HRE Prelate, of course. As we said, spreading the word of their Lord Jesus Christ to their villagers. It is Baltune playing as the color yellow, spawning in the northeast, playing as the Chinese on this map, and playing in the color red. We have Avely. First time seeing China, and as my love of being a biased commentator stands, wish we didn't, to be honest.
Yeah, there's a lot of them going around in general, so
Yeah,
it's kind of like the English thing that people are maybe a little fed up, but you know, it's still a good civ, and we're here to watch somebody win. Avely is certainly gonna try.
Yeah, I mean, remember, guys, you can see the scoreboard on your screen. This is 1-1. This is the pivotal game 3. This decides who wins Genghis Khan's legacy. So we might be in for a knockdown, drag-out fight on Prairie with 2 civs. Pretty good on Prairie, to be honest.
I also like the double scout opener just to secure as many sheep as can be done. The map isn't particularly rich on hunt, and you really don't want to risk your villagers by going out that far for patches of free deer. So yeah, herding as much as possible sounds great to me right now.
Yeah, I mean, for two scout opening is starting to become the standard on Prairie. I know when Prairie first came out, a lot of people were trying to get greedy and go with the solo scout, but got to remember on Prairie, there's 40 sheep on this map, not like all of the other maps. So getting that second scout, making sure you're not missing any, is important, especially a Chinese scouts from Tang Dynasty. Getting a plus 30% sight bonus, going to be able to look at those HRE scouts and say, Nana Boo Boo, I got more sheep than you do.
I've not heard that one before. Nice.
Yeah, I just honestly I haven't either until this second.
Speechless. Anyway, it looks like we're gonna see a fast H2 coming up from our holy bros. Akin Chapel does secure the gold mine, does touch just about the stone. Not bad.
Pretty good, solid Akin Chapel, or Akin Chapel. Oh my God, time from Baltune. 4 villagers on it, which will go at a little bit slower pace than usual. I usually see a little bit more villagers, but 4 is okay. It looks like based on that Akin Chapel site, however, he is going to get some of these straggler trees, which will help him out in the wood department. But I'm wondering if he does take that stone and go second town center like we saw him do in game 2.
Do you think it's gonna be a boomy game again? For China, especially.
I do think it's going to be a boomy game. I mean, China has a power spike now. They're playing more like a Castle Age Civ more than anything else because they go Song Dynasty, they get their boom, and then they're able to get that late game economy in Castle Age, what other Civs can't. But a lot of things that I am saying might end up not being the case because on the south side, Avely is pulling 5 Chinese villagers. We know that they build a little bit faster than some of the other civilizations. He's got 5 villagers over here, yet to get a feudal landmark coming in, and goes with an outpost. He's gonna try a little bit of a tower rush. I was thinking maybe a little bit of a Barbican rush as well, but the HRE villagers get that nice little surround on the Chinese villagers. There's a couple of them that probably don't have a place to go. One's gonna end up going down because of that. 4 are going to be able to get in that outpost, so it might be at the cost of 1 HRE villager, probably a 1-to-1 trade.
Oh, we ejected. So It's not going to be happening, but anyway, the Barbican of the Sun is still here for some fancy barbecuing.
Yeah, you can't say Baltune never got invited to a barbecue, right? With the Barbican of the Sun right in his face. Already, while I'm even speaking the sentence, the Barbican's already halfway done with 4 villagers on it. The power of the Chinese building and how they're able to get that Barbican up so quickly. One of the reasons why the Chinese has an ability to win against the HRE. A lot of times for HRE, they get up to castles so quick, they're able to get those relics, while Chinese is still pumping villagers in Song Dynasty. But because of the Barbican, it makes the HRE stall out just a little bit. You see all of those sheep had to get moved to the northwestern side of the HRE town center. And now with that Barbican, the HRE, they can do one of 2 things. They can spend a buttload of resources getting a blacksmith, siege engineering, getting rams, all of that kind of stuff. Or they can go up to castle and just try to ignore it. But because of how good that Barbican is placed, it's going to be difficult for him to get up to castle because the Akka Chapel's right next to it and Baltune can't use it.
Yeah, that's a completely neutralized landmark now, and to pour some salt into that wound, Avely is just gonna mine this gold vein that rightfully should have belonged to Baltune. Well, no more of that.
I mean, that's a juicy big gold vein, right? It's not a small one. It's 8,000 gold. So Baltune had to move his villagers. He's got about 7 all the way on the north side on the small gold vein. And don't look now on the east side, Avely with a Chinese scout. over in this area, so he's going to spot it out. One of the things that if you're a low elo player or you're new to Age of Empires 4 or RTS games in general, one of the best things that you can do when you deny your opponent of a resource, you got to be thinking, okay, where are they going to go next? Where can they get gold next that's close to their town center? Avely knows that's the closest gold vein that's safe, puts a scout right there, finds him immediately.
Yeah, and Avely, as a former high-level Age of Mythology player, especially, used to this situation in AOM, gold is a required resource for making units, so you don't have trash units, which means the gold starve is lethal. So getting on top of that now, I think Avely is just going to be so practiced with this, just keeping scouts on all the next potential gold mines after he can deal with this one.
Oh, you could certainly see that too. I mean, super good call pulling out some of the past RTS games, because we know for Avely, hell of a good AoE 4 player, and we know this is not his first rodeo. On the other side, Baltune, actually, as far as, we were talking about this being a booming game, but let's just throw all of that out the window, because Baltune is going to be going with Burgrave, Palace, and going to shove some men-at-arms right in Avely's throat and ask him to deal with it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good comeback as well for this. Like, Spearmen won't be costing any gold, so as long as you can keep this going, a little bit of gold income will be enough. The villagers will garrison every now and then into the outpost to save themselves. Then you can print the a little bit of men-at-arms and a little bit of spearmen. Should be good to go.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the gold economy, which obviously is getting raided by horsemen from Avely on the north side. So a little bit of idle time going in just because they're trying to get in that outpost. But as long as he's getting, maybe like 150-ish gold per minute, he could pump out men-at-arms kind of easily. I mean, it's only 20 gold for men-at-arms. The most important thing is going to be the upgrade, which he just picked up. The Burgrave Palace does give increased production speed to those upgrades also. So in about 6 seconds, Castle Age Men-at-Arms research popped out. Another 4 seconds, and the Men-at-Arms in Castle Age do get popped out, and then we're going to see a little bit of a Congo line straight to Avely's base.
Always a pretty satisfying sight when you have the Congo lines. I do love that in any RTS, really.
Yeah, and I mean, the Burgrave is one of the best to do it. Now, on the flip side, Avely does know that Baltune is Castle Age, and because of the increased amount of vision that the Barbican of the Sun gives him over Baltune's base, knows that he's going Burgrave. So this could be a little bit of a mistake for Baltune. I understand and I appreciate and I love the aggression. However, Avely knows that's going on. Burgrave Palace really works when it's more of a surprise tactic than you just randomly say men-at-arms in your base and you don't know how to deal with it. Avely has the resource collection, got to Castle Age at about 9:40 before the men-at-arms actually got first strike on one of their villagers, so he'll be able to pop out crossbowmen with the Imperial supervision of the IO, pumping out crossbowmen every 8 seconds.
Yeah, plus the actual town center, of course, helping to defend against those men-at-arms. One of them might actually go down there. That's a pretty nice opener for Avely.
Yeah, one villager did go down for Avely. However, the one men-at-arms from Baltune just got capped by one of those crossbowmen coming out over here. So the men-at-arms, I mean, they are creating a little bit of disruption in the Chinese base, but it helps that that town center has hand cannon slits and has 25 damage to anything that it touches. So even though Avely is, a little bit at a deficit just because of a little bit of idle time that it produced, now he's going to have the amount of time to get a good crossbowman mass. So if Baltune continues to just make men-at-arms, it's going to be an issue for him.
Baltune's villagers just moved back to the old sheep carcasses, and the Barbican of the Sun is barbecuing those villagers. That's the third kill in a row that I've caught. I'm not sure if there were more before, but it's looking painful, man. I wouldn't want to be one of those.
And that's so tricky too, because like now that they moved to those old carcasses, the Barbican, like he's always gonna get that damage hit, like, oh, your village is under attack or whatever, because he thinks the Barbican's hitting the Aachen Chapel.
Yes.
Still.
Yes, but it's doing so much more damage than that. Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, only good news for Baltune right now is that these men-at-arms are still continuing on into that base, but you pull back that crossbow man and the main base just gonna shoot these strong cannon shots and cause trouble.
Yeah, the really important thing that IO actually ended up getting saved and went into the town center. It means he'll be able to supervise a little bit in the future, so just be able to pop out and re-supervise that archery range. But even just those couple of crossbowmen are doing okay at holding off, but 13 worker kills for Avely, and it looks like 7 for Baltune. So it's really evening this count. This game, we're going to see this turn into a cluster. Economic count 26 to 24 for both guys in a time where in an HRA versus China game, sometimes you're at, the 80s at this point.
Okay, the Vills have evacuated, but the men-at-arms do find them and they're gonna get cut down pretty hard. The villager count dropping rapidly, kill count almost equal already. Very nice
That
move
is
by Baltune to
huge.
find that. I'm not quite sure how Avely will hold from here because he doesn't have a whole lot of resources. Income essentially zeroing out.
Yeah, he really doesn't. I mean, for him, most important is food, right? I mean, it costs 80 food to make one of those crossbowmen. He's got about 5 queued up in the only archery range that he has. So if he's not getting that supervised, those crossbowmen aren't going to come out at a good enough time. The problem is woodline, berry bushes, sheep, gold vein, all of that are unavailable for Avely. And now with a villager count of 19, 13 of them idled inside the town center, like he can't get resources. There's nothing he can do here.
Yeah, man, that's way too many men-at-arms. How do you even stop this as Avely right now?
That's a pretty good question. Looks like for crossbowmen and the men-at-arms are actually going to move faster than these crossbowmen because of, well, one was the charge that they had actually on the crossbowmen. But if the HRE player, if Baltune is smart enough to get a blacksmith going and get the extra movement speed for those men-at-arms, they'll be able to chase them down too. So it's not even you can make a mass. Avely's just trying to play ring around the posy with these men-at-arms. Hopefully most of them end up going down for him.
There's more coming. It's never ending.
Especially, I mean, the food economy for Baltune, even though he has 24 villagers, not that bad. The issue is for Baltune, this game might have been over a couple minutes ago, but the issue is Baltune, when he's queuing villagers, he already has them queued to the sheep that have already been used. So every time a villager pops out that you'll see happen right now, it goes right to those sheep carcasses that the Barbican just takes them right out every time.
Yeah, he's prioritizing the Vills. Sorry, buddy. Yikes, that hurts. So
He was not long for this world, that's for sure.
if that keeps happening, Avely will get ahead in Vills. Like, he's got the 5 crossbows out. No more RB. Oh, he's queuing more. So yeah, it's starting to get to a number where the TC plus the crossbows should be able to defend themselves.
Yeah, and now this is the time for Baltune. He's seeing just crossbowmen. Maybe add something else. Maybe add some land snakes instead. I mean, it's good beating your head against the wall with those men-at-arms, especially in the beginning. But now that a crossbowman mass is starting to congregate, you might want to change something else. And Avely also adding knights on the other side, which is a lancers, excuse me, which is a very good counter to men-at-arms. So if he continues to make them, lancers can take them out pretty easily. So Baltune's going to have to get back to the drawing board.
It's going to be a raid for that first one. That's a pretty good choice as well. And the second one is queued up somewhere across the map too. Yeah, we're going for a big loop around into the main. And then the crossbows will try to hold. Ooh, the Vills are getting cut down. Yikes.
Ooh.
That's nice. 2 kills.
That's a very bad pathing issue for Avely because the village was probably the closest to some of those outside villagers, so they decided to go to the a village for safety instead of the town center, and it cost him a couple villagers. But as long as Baltune doesn't change his waypoint, which it looks like he just did at the 16-minute mark, you gotta think. I mean, these guys are professional players. You know, these guys are the best, or some of the best that AoE 4 has to offer, and this goes to show for these guys, even though they are very good, you make mistakes like that. It happens.
Yeah, for sure, it's hard to notice. And now that Lancer is in the villager line where they're trying to pick berries, well, this isn't good. The men-at-arms here to defend though will shoo away the Lancer for now. But it's faster. It can loop around them and hit the vills again. Wow.
That's just, look at that micro. Like, are you kidding me? Avely going around those men-at-arms like that, like, I get they're not as fast, but not being able to, like, that Lancer is still at over half health, and it ended up getting that extra charge, which could pay off later down the road. I guess we'll see. Men-at-arms from Baltune do have the heavy maces, so they'll be able to take down those knights pretty well, but Avely starting to get his boom shoes on with 19 villagers and just adding a 20th, getting to the Imperial Academy, and will be getting to Song Dynasty where you can get those villagers out just a little bit quicker.
Oh man, that prelate gave its position away, and now the Lancer's gonna cut it down easy peasy. Oh, imagine if that hadn't been triggered there. Would have been a free relic for Baltune. That is something that he, I think, definitely needed. Loses another prelate at home. Is that one with the relic gonna go down? Oh my god. Oh, seriously?
I think for the Americans in chat, I guess this will only apply to you, but for American football, it's like with that relic getting field position. I mean, it costs you a lot of gold to do that at about 300 gold, but you move that relic just a little bit safer every time. So maybe he'll get that relic in there eventually, but it's going to cost him a decent amount of prelates to do so.
Yeah, both of
finally
the
does with
Lancers
that
are just doing their thing, man. Like, this is absolutely brutal. The tower's gonna take it down, though, at the cost of several villagers. Baltune still ahead, however, overall. But with the Imperial Academy out, those Chinese villagers now training 15 seconds. This is not gonna last.
Yep, and you can see for how many villagers are on every respective resource for Avely. 9 on wood right now, actually most populous on wood. So he's still able to get some crossbowmen, still able to get some knights, but adds another villager to stone. And I'm very curious as to where this town center waypoint is, because if he continues to be on stone, he could get a second town center.
And that's when the villager change speed bonus really kicks in. When you have a second TC.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, having that ability, and for Baltune, for the HRE, their quote unquote Song Dynasty, so to speak, happens when you get the Palace of Swabi at Imperial Age.
Yep.
Obviously, Baltune, because he lost 27 villagers because of that waypoint issue, nowhere near that area. Whereas Avely getting a second town center, he already has the wood for it. He just needs the stone.
Yeah, and the thing is, he still can't safely take down that Barbican. Okay, there is a battering ram coming. There we go.
Oh yeah, taking that Barbican to Ram Ranch. Let's go. I mean, obviously there's no villagers around here, and the only thing that's over here is an outpost as well. So that Barbican, if that ram isn't dealt with, the ram will obviously take down the Barbican. And for Baltune, that's massive economically. He can finally use that Aachen Chapel for the first time since like minute 5 of the game.
It's 20 minutes. Hasn't used the first landmark. Oh no.
And this, I mean, I guess this is more of a hot button opinionated issue, but Aachen Chapel, arguably best landmark in the game out of all civs. Having that completely denied by a random outpost that you can make shrimp on, being a barbecue, big for the Chinese.
One thing that's still going for Baltune is the relics. He's got 2 of them as far as I can see. It's a lot better than 0, but I wouldn't imagine it will take too much longer until Avely also starts realizing, yo, I've got to pick those up.
Well, actually, remember for HRE, put the relics in those outposts. We have one in the outpost in the center. There's one in the monastery. And then if you look up north, all of those outposts have relics in it. Baltune actually has
Oh,
4.
wait a second. Sorry. You're right. There's only 1 on the map. Excuse my math, or lack thereof.
And now we're going to start booming. Ladies and gentlemen, the stock exchange is going to start rising for the Chinese Empire as soon as it hits Song Dynasty. Notably good dynasty in Chinese medieval history if you guys are paying attention to your medieval history. But economic count 40 to 36 in favor of Avely. What I'm going to tell you, wait until about like minute 26 and then check back on that economic count. And I'll do it with you just to see how many villagers he's ahead.
I'm committing to memory. 6 villagers now.
You just wait. That Song Dynasty. I do see a lot of stone villagers as well for Avely on that western side. 15 stone villagers, so he will be able to get a keep pretty quickly if he chooses to do so. My question, though, for Avely is where he's actually going to put it.
They're moving. Oh, to secure the next stone, of course.
Haha, of course. Yes, what's one keep when you could make 5 more, right? And now look at what Baltune does now that the Barbican has finally been reduced to rubble. A lot of farms going around that Aachen Chapel finally going to be able to get those sheep carcasses. So Baltune's food economy is actually going to stabilize a little bit, and look at his resources up on the top left. He has enough for the Palace of Swabia to get those villager counts. Dropped it down before I even put a comma in that sentence right next to those wood lines. So we really are. This turned into this was a cluster for the first 20 minutes. Now we're going to sit back and we're all just going to chill, maybe read chat a little bit, and boom up.
Three town centers are better than 2 town centers. 3 castles are better than 1 castle. 4 relics are better than 1 relic. 58 villagers are better than 42. Oh my god. How did that happen?
Hey, you know what, Naka? It's only been about 2 minutes.
Yes.
Let's give it another 4. See what happens. But I'm curious with the 3 town centers of the Song Dynasty of China, how this actually plays out against the Palace of Swabia that just got completed. Sadly enough, Avely's little Lancer trio looks like that triumvirate trying to go to the western side. Springold Outpost found them. Gave a little nice Springold shot to those Lancers to go in the opposite direction now. So I'm not sure if Avely was actually able to see that Swabia go down. But now that Baltune actually hit Imperial, we can see the notification that we obviously know that he is Imperial. So now what is Avely's plan of attack going forward? Going to add a couple stables, some production buildings. Maybe he decides to go more in the castle variety of units, or maybe he just kind of stockpiles for Imperial himself, and then we wait probably another 5-10ish minutes for a battle.
Tight barns. I like tight barns. That's what Baltune is getting. Those relics are about to get a whole lot better. Giving some of each resource.
Oh yeah, that's super helpful, especially having 4. That's an extra 120 of all of the other 3 resources per minute. That's really going to help him out. One thing for Avely, which is going to take him a little bit of time, his Song Dynasty obviously delayed, as we've seen throughout the course of the game, but putting a lot of villagers not only on food but on wood as well. 31 on food, about 17 on wood, because he's going to need granaries and he's going to need a farm economy if he's going to be able to contest Baltune in the Imperial Age. If he's not able to do that and Baltune is able to get to Avely before that happens, we could see a GG and a win for Baltune in this championship.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a military advantage right now. 26 to 14 military units. It's that 85 vills versus 60 that freaks me out, though.
Yep, and you called it. It just hit the 26th minute, we gave it a decent amount of time, and now Avely has a 24 villager advantage, even though Baltune has had the Palace of Swabia cranking out for probably about a minute and a half. God, this Civ is something else.
Yeah, just triple TC pumping non-stop. Not getting housed is also pretty good. We're gonna see an Imperial Palace. Then Avely can basically have his map hack at home.
Yeah, and honestly, this landmark, so good on Prairie because you got to spread out a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you're going to have your Aqua Chapel farms, which you know are going to exist, but those wood lines are scarce and hard to come by. You got to find out where those villagers are.
Oh man, they're
And if
tiny.
Avely's able to do that, his raids are going to be massive.
There's the granaries. Nice.
Now, what I do want to alert your attention to is what Avely is pumping out in his stables. Now, these are
Ooh,
not
hello.
knights, nor are they horsemen. They are fire lancers. When it comes to fire lancers, they can take down not only a decent group of villagers, but buildings and, most importantly, landmarks, essentially at a moment's notice. So if Avely does go with a decent amount of fire lancers, and it looks like he is, he's either going to A, raid some villagers, B, burn down some landmarks, or C, both.
They have me spotted though. That's the one advantage that Baltune has. So, what would you say is the best answer to this? Keeping spears at home?
So if it's a landmark snipe with fire lancers, one of the best things that he could do is stonewall around one of your landmarks. Baltune does not have the ability to do that because obviously military units can't go around stone walls. He doesn't have the ability to do that because the Aachen, the Tome TC, the Burgrave, very close. And we're seeing a lot of raids on the north side. I'll get back to the fire lancer point in just a second, but keep defensively trying to go up for Avely because of those Chinese villagers. They're going to go up and bail themselves out. Crossbowmen able to take out a decent amount of those men-at-arms. Seems like Baltune just kind of threw away those men-at-arms for no reason. I mean, I think he was trying to go for a raid, but elite men-at-arms aren't something you can just throw away. Avely's going to knows that he's at a military advantage, maybe try to burn down some other stuff. But yeah, back to the Fire Lancers. Spearmen obviously are going to help you. Fire Lancers don't have much in the way of armor, and they don't have that bonus damage that the other light cavalry like horsemen do against archers. So having things like archers could be beneficial to you as well. The issue is for the HRE, don't really do much in the way of archery ranges. So stonewalling around one of your landmarks is like the surefire, you know you're safe.
Well, there's a pretty good number of them already out. Counting 19 plus. More on the way. Or not,
Yeah, I mean,
actually,
you can
it's not
see
stopped. Huh.
you can see against the men-at-arms that Baltune is pulling out that the Fire Lancers obviously aren't that great. They do a little bit of AoE damage, which is nice, but when you actually use their lance, not that good. What they are good at is what you just saw with that siege. That bombard costing 1,000 total resources, that mangonel as well, instantly combusting, essentially, by those Fire Lancers. And now Avely's switching combination of his unit's composition of Fire Lancers and crossbowmen. I'm not really sure about this, to be honest with you.
Hey, we got the clock tower nest of beasts showing its face. Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one for those elite men-at-arms to deal with, actually. Especially if several of them get made. It's gonna take some time, they're not cheap. 600 resources, 40 seconds to train. But once you have the numbers,
Oh yeah, all you need is a couple beehives, man. Especially against those men-at-arms, having 3 or 4 of these clock tower nested bees. And the thing for Baltune, he doesn't have much in the way of anti-siege to even deal with this. Fire Lancers trying to get in for Avely on the eastern side. Looks like a Baltune keep is pretty forward. I really like face keeps, but this is more of a keep kind of like in the neck / thyroid area. So a pretty forward keep, but not as an in-your-face kind of keep. But it will end up going up for the HRE. But again, with the not having anti-siege and only having 2 bombards, I think this is going to be difficult for Baltune if he decides to take a fight straight up.
Bombard slowly rolling up. And, you know, between the keep and outpost, should be well enough protected, but then again, those fire lancers could always just do a bit of a flank and dive, but yeah, there's also the elite man-at-arms, they'll protect us. Now, my question is, where are the prelates for healing? These boys are getting pretty low.
Yeah, it would honestly really help, and that's a good call. That would be really beneficial for these guys, especially against AoE damage. You see a lot of these guys. I mean, I'm just clicking random ones, 103, 112 health, stuff like that. Getting those at full strength is really going to help against further AoE attacks. But Avely picking the right things to actually attack took down 2 outposts on the north side, where those relics are going to lie dormant. You can't get much gold when they're on the ground, and that tithe barns actually gets discontinued as well.
Yeah, every little bit hurts.
It looks like, I mean, Baltune's still trying to get his mass up in the front. Those men-at-arms up in the front is exactly what you said. Look at them shielding around that bombard. Look how perfect that is. I mean, yeah, that keeps getting a good damage. You know, they're getting a spring-old hit in. One of the men-at-arms ends up going down. But you saw with those fire lancers, good luck trying to get right in front of them. So the Chinese player Avely going to do something a little bit more ranged, add some anti-siege, has a clock tower springald over here. Now those men-at-arms completely exposed to that keep. A lot of men-at-arms going down. Avely thinks he can take this fight with a military count 52 to 40. We'll see if the crossbowman mass is enough. Nest of Bees trying to get a little bit of extra damage. It looks like Avely going for the way of AoE essentially in this game because of the Nest of Bees and the fire lancers that he got. And surprisingly, pretty good against those men-at-arms. I mean, I don't think there was a clear-cut winner in this one, but it's going to make Baltune think and hopefully make an army composition change.
Oh, those double clock tower springolds with the villager repair, pushing back the bombard and getting a kill. That's a pretty big deal. Elite man-at-arms getting quite weak. Maybe might pick off that Nest of Bees. The repair coming in again. Oh, saves it. You are kidding me.
It was at 2 health, that Nest of Bees. But Chinese villagers, we talk about how fast they can build. They also have that same bonus to repairing. So that clock tower Nest of Bees was at 2 health. Now it's like it never even happened. And Avely now with this keep protected. A lot of bombards went down from Baltune. He doesn't have anything in the way of damage dealing for the defensive building that keep is. Avely has one of the longest names of a unit in AoE 4, a clock tower counterweight trebuchet, say that 5 times fast, shooting at that HRE keep, and Baltune doesn't really have a way to deal with it.
Do you think it fits into the UI in every language? That's like, I'm not certain that's gonna work out.
I do not. No, I really don't think it does.
Trying to save that relic. Man, these guys have a tough job.
Yeah, that's
unarmed,
for sure.
unescorted. What?
That's so bad.
His only weapon
That's
is
so much,
insults.
That's so much gold down the drain, too.
Yeah. There's always the threat of eternal damnation, I guess, but, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chinese, at this point in history, the Yuan dynasty, I think they were more Buddhist, so I don't think they really understand what the HRE prelates are even talking about in the first place.
Yeah, they still are, so that's the thing. It
true.
never works.
Another relic goes down, so that's 3 idol relics. It looks like I see one of the 2 idol, or 2 idol. I'm sorry. There's one in the monastery, then one in the outpost, but a lot of concentrated fire again in the front. Baltune did make an army composition change, probably as minimally as you possibly can, and added 2 spearmen. But still, it'll prevent some of those fire lancer charges. It could prove to be beneficial, but Baltune continuing with this heavy and expensive siege equipment, going for the bombards. We're going to see these springolds walk right up and just pop it down at a moment's notice.
Oh, the man-at-arms are getting into a pretty sweet spot here, right on top of the clock tower springolds. We've got the bees shooting, however, from up there. And this double keeps, that's still a lot, you know, like the crossbows kiting backwards. I'm worried for these men-at-arms.
Yeah, a lot of those men-at-arms got caught in the boiling oil for that Chinese keep, so a lot of them ended up being damaged. Nest of Bees were able to swirl around with their stingers out, able to take down a lot of those men-at-arms. And now, Avely finally, got to remember, 36th minute in the game, still Castle Age. Went up with the Spirit Way, so he's going to be able to get Elite Fire Lancers, which he does have the upgrade queued, and also Ancient Techniques. Now, this is something for, if you're not an experienced China player, you might not see this technology or remember the name of it, but increases the gathering rate of villagers by plus 5% for each dynasty achieved. Avely has 3 of them. Remember, Tang, Song, Yuan, so that'll be another 15% on the gathering speed. Not as good as an inspired HRE villager, but still gonna help him.
Yeah, every little bit counts. There's also the granaries to not forget about, which helps by another 10% on these farms. So every little bit adds up, and yeah, at this stage of the game, China kind of needs a little bit. It's just that Baltune has never really been ahead, so even though HRE is in a really good position when you have that many relics and their upgrade too.
One of the frustrating things for Baltune, and I'm seeing a lot of these Fire Lances go down, that keep surprisingly low in terms of health, at about 2,300 health before it got ultimately repaired, and will get saved eventually. But one of the frustrating things for Baltune is Avely hasn't walled this entire game. We're hitting the 38th minute, and it feels like Baltune is just beating his head against the wall, against this keep that he's trying so desperately to get rid of, where he could just go around it.
Which he is kind of doing now, but he's still in the range of the keep and the artillery, which is a problem. He's cutting into the villager economy finally, especially in the back there. There's no defenses, so good move. This is what we needed to see earlier, but even now he can still make something happen with this. Finally, the vills are equalized, and Baltune is ahead for the first time in a long time, winning on the Sacred Victory condition too. He needed that.
Oh yeah, I mean, villager count right now, 129 to 115. Favor of Avely, a lot of worker kills. There's still elite men-at-arms out there. Avely trying to get some hand cannoneers over here and trying to take down these men-at-arms, but it's going to take a while for him to do so. Sacred Victory approaching in 7 minutes and 30 seconds. So Baltune trying to go with the theory that the best defense is a good offense, and trying to get some of that idle time for Avely. And you can see it bottlenecked him in terms of food. He's only at about 400 food, and he's pretty good on all the other resources.
Yeah, it feels like our boy can keep going for a long freaking time here. We got the clock tower bombard wrecking this keep. What is this creep doing here, by the way? How did it get here?
This it's a very good question. It's a very good question. I do see a little battle coming in on the east side for Baltune and Avely, just about elite Fire Lancers and men-at-arms. You're seeing the pluses of the Spirit Way, because when one of those Fire Lancers go down, the other ones around it heal by about 20. So it's going to give them a little bit of extra oomph when fighting against those men-at-arms. But the men-at-arms were able to take down that clock tower bombard, not in time for that keep to go down. So Avely does have a wood line that's safe. It looks like, based on what's going on the map, this might be one of the only safe wood lines that are left in basically most of Avely's map control.
Oh man, that's a lot of men-at-arms that were just lost by Baltune. Look at that military disadvantage. 55 to 23 with a triple clock tower, nest of bees. Yeah, I think it's just a free. Yep.
Yeah, and those, I mean,
coming soon.
For those 3 nested bees, I mean, it's kind of all you need.
Yeah, exactly.
I like what Avely's doing in trying to attack from different angles. You know, he was trying to get those men-at-arms to the east. He was trying to reposition his way in the middle, but added some Imperial Age battering rams. They do have some kind of improvement and some kind of availability to be used in Imperial Age. So it did take down a stone wall. Fire Lancers getting in there of the elite variety, trying to take down one of these sacred sites, and at the same time, this middle sacred site trying to get decapped. So I like what Avely is doing, trying to get multiple different sides. The issue is those Fire Lancers, they just don't pack the damage they need to take down men-at-arms. They're essentially a raiding unit.
Yeah, it's hugely useful to open up these stone walls, especially, and you know, if Avely can get the decapture on these sacred sites, then the game can continue and potentially will last real long.
Yeah, I mean, Baltune, he's trying to bolster up those defenses, trying to repair that keep because it continues to get hit down, but villagers, a couple of them end up going down. Clock Tower Bombard going to be on that middle keep. Sacred Site now under 5 minutes. Avely's got to be smelling a little bit of desperation, but he knows if he does actually decap one of these Sacred Sites, that goes Baltune's win condition, and it could be a pretty consequential fight for that Sacred Site. If Baltune loses all of his troops, it could spell the end. So even though this Sacred Site is in 4.5 minutes, there is a lot of game to play to the point where these 4.5 minutes are going to decide the championship. Avely trying to get some of those spare resources on the eastern, more so southeastern side of the map, has to vacate, but Men-at-Arms going to try to charge into the Clock Tower Bombard. Knows if that keep goes down, that middle sacred site might end up going down as well. Hand Cannoneers, Crossbowmen for Avely, going to be able to take down a lot of these Men-at-Arms. That's the firepower, the DPS they really needed.
Wow.
Those Chinese villagers in their silky smooth hats repairing that Clock Tower Bombard. And the Clock Tower Bombards, both of them, end up staying. Only one nest of bees of the Clock Tower variety for the Chinese player ends up going down. And now, with that keep at 1,300 health, it's starting to burn. And even though there's a little bit of boiling oil pouring out, trying to take down some of these elite palace guards, now Baltune has to constantly funnel Men-at-Arms to the middle of this map so he doesn't lose that sacred site. It's going to be difficult. That HRE player had a Culverin, but that Culverin reduced again to essentially kindling because of the Fire Lancers that are so good against siege. Baltune has to back up right to the middle of that sacred site, and this could be it. If he's able to take down the Culverin, if he's able to take down all of those Men-at-Arms, this could be really difficult.
Yeah, man, those palace guards are just really holding their ground. The composition of Avely is extremely sophisticated, and Baltune is just throwing more men at the problem. I'm not sure this can work out long term, maybe in this fight, but even that seems a bit of a stretch. Dude, Avely is looking so strong right now. He's starting to trade against villagers over there in the back. 56 military units, 57 to 30. Baltune is in trouble. He's probably going to at least lose the sacred site, but he's forcing up a keep, so that should keep things under control for the most part.
And the most important part of that battle was some of the Palace Guard from Avely getting into that Culverin area and being able to take it down. That Siege Workshop for Baltune continuing to try to pump out Culverin. One Clock Tower Bombard goes down, but because the Clock Tower Bombard has a little bit extra health, it means it can survive a Culverin shot. So it's going to take a lot of time. That Culverin's got to stay alive for a while. Baltune doesn't have the military support to end up keeping that alive. And because of that, at the 2-minute 8-second mark, Baltune did have Men-at-Arms over there to keep that sacred timer going. Now, because of those Fire Lancers stormed that area, Baltune's Men-at-Arms had to retreat. It means that sacred victory is going to start ticking down. As long as he has units over there to decap, Baltune knows that Men-at-Arms trying to get to that Clock Tower Bombard. Look at all of the villagers over here. We're pulling the boys!
Maybe the Vills can get on top of the Bombard to keep the keep. But even that seems like a bit of a stretch. There's just way too many units here for Avely. 2 minutes, 8 seconds. The timer is stuck as the decapture has begun. And we've got a tap out from Baltune, with Avely securing himself the second victory in this series.
Wow.
And at this point, I think we can reveal as well that this was in fact a best of 5, and unfortunately Baltune has decided to not play out the series. And with that, Avely has become our season's champion. We want to thank our MetaPlays website subscribers. Your contribution helps us keep the project sustainable. As we reach higher subscription goals, you are helping us cover more and more behind-the-scenes costs, such as video editing. Check out our subscription page using the link in the description, and remember to collect your perks. We will see you the next time.